episode of the Innovation Mindset podcast powered by the Jim Rand College of Entrepreneurship. I am Mark Bikinis, your host. And in studio today, we have the CEO and founder of Burdash Bikinis, Caity Burdash. Hey, Caity, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. You are the 99th episode of this podcast and pretty exciting. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and your upbringing and your entrepreneurial influences.
Yeah, I think a lot of my entrepreneurial influences come from how I grew up. I am from Weston, Florida, which is a pretty middle-class community division in South Florida. I currently live in Fort Lauderdale, so there's no place like home. I have major influences by the beach, which I think later down the road is a big part of why I chose to make bikinis. However, my entrepreneurial influences mainly come from, I would say my brother and my uncle. My uncle Rick has been an entrepreneur since he was a teenager, according to my mom. And he always had that ambition and drive due to money. So he started a bunch of businesses, and he was a big influence too when I actually was starting my business, because it's a funny thing. He wasn't necessarily the proud uncle. He was discouraging me of starting my business because
Really?
he
Why was
had
that?
done it. He had all those trial and errors starting his whole life being an entrepreneur. So he had a lot of worries for me. I think I'd say he was worried. He didn't want me to fail. He hoped I had it in me. And every time I would go home for holidays, especially during those early years starting the business, my 2 final years at FSU, I would hear, "Are you sure you're going to make enough money? You should really have a corporate job." And so it was that fire that was lit inside me to prove him wrong. And that becomes a pattern. I've
Interesting.
noticed throughout my life. I had a phone call with my mom today, and she was like, "You've always been like that. If somebody tells you no, you're going to show them that you can do it." So Uncle Rick, love him. And I am really happy and I'm grateful for him lighting that fire inside me. And then my brother, John, I grew up seeing my older brother, he's 8 years older than me, starting, I don't even know how many businesses. If you look it up on Sunbiz, he has so many because he's just always been a very diligent and a very strong worker.
Mhm.
Seeing him not go the traditional route with a college, I was like, hey, I don't necessarily need to do this the way my parents might have led me to do it. I can follow my brother and my uncle's footsteps. So that's, I think, the influence that started the entrepreneurial journey. I wasn't expecting this. It fell into my lap and then it grew from there.
That's interesting. The Uncle Rick story resonates with me. I'm the founder of Red Eye Coffee here in Tallahassee. I sold it a few years back. It's a chain of coffee stores. And students always who want to start coffee shops want to talk to me. And I'm like, I'm the last person you want to talk to about starting a coffee shop. And I try to be encouraging and things like that. But that's interesting that your Uncle Rick, he's felt the pain of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. So tell us a little bit about your company and how you got started.
Yeah. I started Burdash Bikinis during the COVID time at FSU. It was my junior year. They sent us home. They were like, don't come back until we figure out what's going on. So I was very into my time at FSU. I loved my sorority, and we had so many different day functions where I always wanted to make my own outfits. And at this point, I didn't sew. But during COVID, I decided to get a sewing machine and teach myself to make initially tailgating outfits
Okay.
using old jerseys and thrifting. But I didn't even do any of that, actually. Never even made one. I started by Googling a YouTube video on how to make a bikini. And then all of a sudden, I had an Instagram account and I was like, look at this bikini I made. And it was so poorly constructed compared to what I'm doing today. And immediately, I had a lot of community friends from high school and college, professors, sorority sisters coming together, helping me build this brand that I didn't even know had all this potential. So I had my best friend, Laura, who was my roommate at the time. She was the photographer behind my first photo shoot, and my best friends Vivian and Cher modeled it. And I'll never forget that because it was very unreal watching it. And then when I did the initial drop, it was out of my college apartment during the summer of COVID. There was barely
Oh,
anyone in Tallahassee. And I had gotten, I think, 50 orders in that first hour. And I
oh
couldn't
wow.
believe it. And I had no idea how to work Shopify. I was so brand new. So what I'll explain what I do too. I didn't even say that. I have a handcraft swimwear for women to help them feel empowered and step into their most confident selves. And initially, I don't believe it started as that. It just started as making bikinis for fun. But I've seen how my swimwear and how my designs have helped to empower women and help them see that there's so much more than what other people think of you. And you can feel beautiful and fabulous with the help of fashion. And swimwear, I said this at my 7 under 30. Swimwear is the smallest garment that you're going to wear. So it's honestly a challenge as a designer to use something that's small to help women feel so confident in it. So it's been a challenge, but it's really fun. And I think swimwear ties back to growing up in South Florida and always being in a bikini at the beach.
Yeah. So when you think about the arc, starting your company, especially during a trying time, during COVID and things like that, and can you tell us about some of the highs and lows of your journey?
Yeah, I would say I'll start with the lows. I believe just starting a brand is already in itself difficult, but I'll always say it's fun to be a beginner, and being a beginner at something is the best thing you can do for yourself. If you're going to stick the simple route and do the same thing every single day and not challenge yourself, you might not see a lot of growth. But if you would have told me 5 years ago, I'm going to have this business and it's going to be my full-time job sewing when I've never touched a sewing machine 5 years ago, I wouldn't believe you. But it's
Mm,
incredible to see the growth from there. So one of the challenges is definitely time management as an entrepreneur and being able to focus your time. And for someone like me who makes everything myself, I'm wearing all the hats of this business. So it's important for me to understand what's a priority, and my customers are a priority. Sewing is a priority. Social media is a huge priority. So balancing all these hats, it can get hard. There was one point in, I believe it was last year in May, I had an incredible, I think it was a $30,000 month, which was
mm.
amazing. However, that's like so many orders. I don't even know how many at that point, what my prices were, but it was about maybe 250 orders, and my turnaround time being 3 to 4 weeks. That was not going to work for me because I'm a one woman show. So it really made me sit back and think, how am I going to scale this business? Because I'm somebody who, my weakness is definitely delegating tasks. am a perfectionist. I like to do everything myself because I know how it's going to get done. And I'm a very diligent worker. So handing tasks to other people is hard, but I did hire some assistants who helped me cut. And you know what? I still didn't even finish on a timely manner. And it's so embarrassing as a business owner to admit, but it's trial and error. So that's where I'll get into the positives. Is I think some of the best parts are those hard times that challenge you to grow as an entrepreneur, to grow as a business owner. And another random highlight is fashion shows and the social influences and events that I get to do because of my job. And it's really fun. I love creating. I love inspiring others. That's definitely a bonus. When I was at the 7 under 30, I met so many students who looked up to me, and I felt so like imposter syndrome. I couldn't believe
Mm.
it. It is really cool knowing that even if you're going to post one thing on social media, or I'm going to sell just one bikini, it's going to make a difference to that one person. So if I can just inspire one person with what I'm doing, it's definitely worth it.
So with your business model, help me understand. So you're
Oh, yeah.
basically this is custom or semi-custom swimwear. And
Oh, yeah.
are you making a design and then people order that design and you custom make it to their size, or explain that how that all works?
So everything is handmade to order. And I do now, after that whole mess of getting too many orders at once and not knowing how to handle it, I do limited drops. So I am creating a very high demand for my community of Burdash babes. I call them my customers. They get excited when they see a product. They know there's going to be a limited amount available. So I build this, there's an adrenaline rush when the countdown says it's here. Everybody goes to the website. It's so much fun watching like the little map on Shopify to see where everybody's shopping from. And I'll
Oh, that's
sell
fun.
a limited amount of orders. And then I'll close the site and I'll be like, oh, we sold out. I'll make everything. I have no stress anymore because I know I can handle the workload I did. That's a new business model I've been using and I love it so much. It makes it so much more fun. It's allowing me to create new things and to eventually scale my business into a fulfillment center and a factory, which is in the talks. It's nothing I'm doing yet, but it's definitely something I'm looking into.
No, that's fantastic. That's really interesting how you
Yeah.
took that challenge and actually made it into a kind of a positive in your business. And it actually put some guardrails in, but it's also freed up some time for innovation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Let's go back to your time at FSU, and you were there during COVID. So
Yeah.
that's a challenge. And you were in the Jim Moran College of Entrepreneurship retail program. Is that correct?
Yes. It first started as retail merchandising and product development. That's what
Hmm.
drove me into it because I love fashion. So when it transitioned into the retail entrepreneurship, I was just like, okay, I'm learning more about how to be a business owner. And I think with the help of my professors, that's what really helped me kickstart that and get my foot in the door in the entrepreneurship world.
No, I got that. Yeah, that's interesting. From a student perspective, I remember as a teacher going through COVID, it was very difficult to try to teach and things like that. As a student your perspective as a student, how was that for you? And how did you overcome the challenges of basically being isolated and not on campus and all that stuff?
So I was very fortunate enough to have a couple of my classes still on campus and we were just sectioned far apart and we were wearing masks. They were more of like the lab classes where you physically needed to go in.
Mm.
So that was nice to be able to be with my peers and engage with other people. But it was really hard being by yourself. I think having the creative outlet of sewing was something that got me through. It was a long time. So I don't think school was even normal my senior year after
Hmm.
COVID. It was still a lot of online classes. So it was definitely a transition, but I had that glass half full perspective. I still kept in contact with all my professors, even if they said the Zoom would be optional. I would always be on it. I loved connecting with my teachers and taking advantage of their intellect.
Mm.
Like you said, you had a business too. A lot of the retail entrepreneurship professors had their own businesses and they had a lot of insight. And I loved picking their brains, especially Professor Shelley Griffin.
Uh,
It was in her class where I discovered this whole like swimwear idea. She had a guest speaker come in and he went around the room and was like it was right before COVID happened. So it was the incredible timing. He goes around the room, he asked us what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I said, I want to have a swimwear business. And it came out
mm,
of nowhere. That was not what I was thinking. I wanted to do the whole retail buying in New York City. So I
okay.
definitely went a different route with that answer. And then in Professor Tara Hackett's class, it was like a croquis sketch where you had to put a collection together. And
Hmm.
during that same time, I was putting together a swimwear collection on my croquis sketches. And it was so bad because I'm so bad at tech design, but I tried my best. And I think it's really what, made going into those COVID months easier because I knew I had, even if they weren't in person, I knew I had access to my professors and they were really awesome, like going into it. And then when I got to see them again a few years later at the 7 under 30, it was like just mind blowing. And I've never felt so like proud to be a Seminole and just where I came from at FSU. It's incredible.
That's cool. So for those of you who are watching who do not know what 7 under 30 is an event that Jim Moran College holds every single year where we have 7 entrepreneurs who started successful companies before the age of 30 come and speak to our students. Let's talk a little bit more about that, Caity. And like you said, like it was a surreal or like cool experience coming
Yeah.
back and as a celebrity instead of a student. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
It was really cool. When I got the invitation to come, I was more than thrilled. My parents were thrilled. And the funny thing about that is when I started my business, I remember when I started at FSU, my dad was like, "What is this degree?" Like, because I think a lot of my dad's a corporate America guy. He isn't an entrepreneur. So to him, he was like, "How are you going to have a career with a degree called entrepreneurship? Are you going to serve burger?" And so I was like it was a little hesitant for my family seeing that. So it was cool to bring them to FSU and to have that, "Hey, look, dad, I did it" moment. And my dad is really proud of me. He's the one who actually taught me how to sew. So
Oh,
having
really?
everyone there. Yeah, my little cousin, he's at FSU, Uncle Rick's son. He's at FSU now and he came too. So it was really cool to have my family there and then just meeting everybody, all the other entrepreneurs. It's crazy because we were all in the same grouping. I feel like a couple of them were around my age, so we've all been in the same circle. Yet we didn't know each other. We might have had a class together, so it was cool
Right.
to reconnect and then just learning about what everybody's doing and talking to each other to have that innovation within our own businesses and share the knowledge with each other. Everyone was really open. I felt like everyone just wanted each other to succeed. And then the whole event was just, I was so scared to go and talk in front of everybody. I totally had stage fright, but it was really fun. And I think no matter what I was saying, I knew they invited me there to inspire someone. So I'm hoping I did.
No, I actually remember your talk and you did a great job and you're very inspiring. So
Thank
that's
you.
very cool. So when you think back on your time I know it's COVID and everything, and what kind of resources do you think the college was able to give you besides the instructors and stuff like that to help you just develop your business and grow it?
Yeah, there's a lot of resources with the retail entrepreneurship program and within the both of the entrepreneurship program. And I've seen how it's grown so much. So there's probably even more resources now. I think doing a lot of the labs and being in person to understand marketing. We did the Macy's lab where you could really dress a mannequin. Stuff like that was really cool to understand how to sell something. And then moving forward beyond just that, the ability to basically play Shark Tank with real money and really just engage with faculty and staff about what you're doing was awesome. I was a I guess the grant winner. Is that what we would call it? The
Uh,
Jim Moran micro grant recipient.
the micro grant recipient, yeah, not winner because it's a grant, but yeah, sure, winner.
I sure felt like a winner. I think it was a lot of being confident, but also that imposter syndrome really creeps in because you're like, wait, am I really, is this real? Am I good enough?
Mm.
But at the end of the day, I just think having that self confidence really gets you through and utilizing all the resources. There's much more now than there was when I was a student. And I just think the community and the entrepreneurship program is growing. Talking to, I just remember my counselor and picking out my classes and just really taking advantage of the people around you was such a benefit for me as a student. Even your peers in your classes, like I would ask the girls around me, "Hey, which color bikini would you want to wear?" Everybody was also they had Market Wednesday, although I never did it. I thought it was really cool that local businesses and students could put together all their crafts or whatever product they were selling. So it was really inspiring. I feel like you just could get inspiration from any corner of campus.
No, that's really cool. So you've mentioned imposter syndrome a couple of
Yeah.
times, and no, but I think that's really natural. I want to talk about that a little bit. I think
Yeah.
entrepreneurship is this weird thing where we're a bunch of visionaries and we're building something that doesn't exist yet, but we're talking about it as it does exist. And so I think I put the word to it, imposter syndrome. How do you balance that where as an entrepreneur, you're like, wow, I really want to accomplish this, in your case, a bikini brand that empowers women and things like that, but you haven't done it yet, or people are viewing you in a way that you don't view yourself. How do you manage through that? What do you do?
I've always been told I grew up doing cheerleading, competitive cheerleading my whole life. You fake it till you make it.
Okay.
Not that that's not to say fake it, but you have to be confident. And if it's faking confidence or just like putting your ideas out there and speaking it into existence, I think it's really important and it's a valuable thing. Being confident in yourself is just the key to, I think, personal success. Success for me is just being happy and living a life of joy. I love money. I'm sure everybody loves money, but if I was doing my business for money, I would be in factories right now. I'm doing it
Mhm.
because I love what I do and it's so much fun. So I think when I'm leaning on those like feelings of, oh my God, am I like, is this really real? Can I do this? It's let me look back on where I started and where I am now. So I think having those moments to reflect on where you started and how you got to where you are and all the trial and errors, like I was talking about, all those challenges and how I use the glass half full mindset to overcome them and grow. I think that really cures that imposter syndrome. And it is just unreal, I think, sometimes to think about how your life can change in an instant. Like I wanted to be on Good Morning America. I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. I had no idea that my life would completely, this would fall into my lap basically
Mhm.
upon COVID. So I think just having that confidence and just putting it out there and having good energy can really just deter yourself from feeling like you're not good enough. And I agree with what you're saying about we are visual people. We see the vision. And what a great piece of advice is just not everyone's going to understand your vision. So you have to be authentic and stay true to yourself. I've had so many people come up to me and be like, I don't get it. Or if I had comments, hit a lot of hate comments on social media platforms, and people are like,
Mhm.
I don't like this. This is not a good style. What is this? What are you making? And although those hate comments hurt, I know there's so many more people who have something positive to say. And also, you probably have a lot of silent cheerleaders out there. If they're not coming straight to you and telling you that, it's a lot. People have more fun hating than they do loving and supporting that. So I think just remembering that I do have those supporters, just it throws that imposter syndrome away.
Nice. Now, I think about imposter syndrome a lot, especially as it comes to entrepreneurship. And I feel like, wow, we're always trying to build something that doesn't exist. And we talk about it as it does. And that's the very definition of like imposter syndrome or visionary. It's like the
Yeah.
same. So I guess if you make it reality, then you're a visionary. If you don't, then maybe you're an imposter or something like that. But
Yeah, you gotta act.
it's one of those challenges because your brand, for a lot of entrepreneurs, we take a lot of pride and personal self in that brand, right? It's challenging. So one thing that I can imagine, like for me, if I saw somebody wearing my brand or stuff like that, or drinking one of my coffees or something like that, I always like, really, I like that. I thought it was really cool. Have you had the opportunity to see your product like out in the wild? And what was that like?
Yeah, I think it's the coolest thing ever. And it's just wow. Like I'm getting all these orders, but a lot of them surprisingly are not like Florida orders.
Mm,
Everyone always asks me, oh, your friends probably order all your bikinis. And yes, my friends love what I make, but they're not necessarily the only people I'm targeting to, Australia and California,
mm.
and they're everywhere. So it most of the time I'm seeing them tag me in posts on social media or TikTok. I think the coolest thing that's happened is seeing like a pop star. Her name's Quiva, I believe. She's a country singer, and she just randomly posted in my bikinis. And I was like, wait, what? This is
Oh,
so
that's
cool. And
cool.
yeah, everything I do too has been organic marketing. I haven't paid any influencers. I haven't done any paid advertisements. So I've been able to grow through social media strategizing and organic marketing. And it's been really cool to just see people I'm not forcing anyone to watch anything. They're just watching it because they like it. So having those influencer type, I guess, people who are wearing my stuff just because they like it is just the coolest marketing I could ever have.
No, that's super cool. I bet it's really awesome seeing people either on Instagram or in person wearing your brand and wearing your bikinis, and especially the positive comments. And yeah, negative comments are hard too. This podcast, the innovation mindset, we talk a lot about mindset challenges that entrepreneurs have. You talked about one already, imposter syndrome. You've talked a little bit about negativity and how that can negatively impact you. What are some of the things that keep you positive? What kind of do you do any mindset practices? What keeps you going?
I think God keeps me going. I love just, if I'm ever feeling down, I just speak it out loud to the universe, God, and my angel, stuff like that. I believe that there's so much power in your words. So speaking positively about yourself. And if you're feeling a little low, go outside, get some fresh air, drink a glass of water, go do a workout, just stuff like that to keep me positive. If I am in a depressed, sad mood, I just know it's okay to also feel those things, but I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to try and make it better. So I think just having it's very small and it's nothing crazy, just positively affirming myself and just letting myself know it's okay to have a bad day. Tomorrow can be a good day and just letting it go day by day, not being too forceful on myself or being
All
mad at
right.
myself if something doesn't go my way.
Cool. That's a good word. I see your office manager Shy is there with you. Anybody? Or girl? A lot of ways, I don't know if you think about it this way, but you're an artist, right? You're creating design, you're creating art that people wear. And I was watching a documentary, gosh, I forget the name of it, but it was on fast fashion. And this lady said that clothes are chosen skin. And so essentially when people are buying your bikinis, especially bikinis, people are extra careful, obviously for obvious reasons. So when you're designing those and you're creating this art, do you do you create something and kind of know, oh, this is going to be a hit, this is going to go, or are you surprised during drops? How does that work?
My goodness, I'm always surprised. I remember my biggest seller is actually not even a normal bikini bottom. My best seller is called swim shorts, and I just curated that name because it's a swimming short. It's like almost
Uh-huh.
like a men's swim trunk, but for women. So it's just like a boy short bottom, and the
Okay.
girls love it, and it's what blew up my brand. And I never would have thought that a short would make my brand go viral, but it has. And it's been so cool because it's a little bit more of a modest bikini option. So it's really going back on like that empowering women. Like you can wear this boy short bikini if you have some people are like, I have scars or I have someone might have cellulite or there's so many different things I get. People are DMing me all the time saying, thank you so much for this design. This has made me
Mhm.
feel so much more comfortable going out. So I think the swim shorts were a huge hit that completely blew me by surprise, but it's all I basically make now. Everyone just loves swim shorts. So I think it is crazy how you can. I was creating for 4 years before that. I put the swim shorts out 2 years ago and they blew up last year. They had already been out for a full year until
Interesting.
I don't know if I don't even think I marketed it differently. I made one TikTok that blew up and it changed the trajectory of my business. So I think there's also just so much power in social media and just trying new things. I think as an artist, like you said, I do feel like I'm an artist because I do create for a living and making things with my hand, creating stuff that is different and trying to do it in a way that reflects my style and my personality and maintaining my brand image. It's fun. So it's not like I'm making random boy shorts. I make them in really fun patterns and I add bows to them and different embellishments. So it's really fun to be creative with that one design now. And really, I truly wouldn't have known that. Oh, sorry, I got a notification. But I truly wouldn't have known that boy shorts would blow up my brand. So if I wouldn't have just made that design and posted it one day randomly, I never would have known. I could
Hmm.
not be here right now.
Yeah, no, I love stories like that. And it always reminds me when I tell entrepreneurs is you need to create and you need to put it out there because if you don't put it out there, nobody will know about it. And
Oh, yes,
so many times
definitely.
you don't know what's going to hit. And that's funny that boy shorts were a big hit for you and changed the trajectory of your brand. So looking forward, do you want to scale? Do you want to have employees? Do you want to be making this, or do you always foresee? Do you want to be hands on? What's the future of your business look like?
So it's hard to predict it because I love being a handmade brand and I love being part of that process. And I think my customer also just, it's really important for me to make them for my customers' sake. So eventually I want to scale and have employees to help me sew. And I'm on that path already. And then further down the line, maybe even having a team of many women. So I don't have any seamstresses at the moment. I am the only one. However, I do have some interested sewists around the South Florida area who I'm in contact with. And it'll be really cool to work with other people and collaborate and see what ideas we can do together. Because I understand that to grow, I need to scale and delegate. So I do want to be the sole creative and not have to sew anything at some point. But I'm okay with taking it slow for now because it's working for me. And I'm not in too much of a rush. I think it's important for me to slow down. I think when I move too fast, things start happening and I lose control. However, just being aware that this is the 5-year timeline and I do need to work on it. So that's definitely been a hard question because it is hard for me to ask other people to sew the stuff that my customers want me to make. So maybe
Right.
it'll be special when I make one and it'll be double the price because I'm making it. So it's something to play around with and have ideas about.
No, I love that. I love that. I always end the podcast by asking the entrepreneur one question. So I'll ask you, if you could go back before you started your company and you were allowed to tell your younger self one thing, what is that one thing that you would tell yourself?
I would tell myself this one thing that I actually read in a book called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's a great book for creatives and entrepreneurs. And she basically says ideas are free floating energies. And if you have
Hmm.
this idea and it keeps coming back to you, if you don't act on it, somebody else will have that idea and they're going to use it. And she said she's seen, I think she made I'm paraphrasing, I think she had a book idea and then she never actually did it. And some other author had the same idea and came out with it and it was a huge success. So I've definitely seen that with my own business. I've seen my idea that I didn't actually bring to life yet. More visionaries. I see the vision and I'm like procrastinating it. But if I would have maybe put it into action a little bit sooner, I could have seen I could have been the one who coined that. But I do feel like I coined the swim shorts. So that was like something I'm pretty proud of. However, I do think my younger self would have loved to know that if I'm having that idea, it keeps coming to me, I really got to act on it and just make it a little bit tangible, at least put my foot in the door and just stop holding it in my brain because it can't do anything there.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show with us today. If you're interested, watchers, all the contact information will be in the show notes. So you can order yourself a beautiful new bikini or boy shorts or whatever you want. Caity, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mark. You're awesome. I enjoyed talking to you. This is such a great podcast. I hope that a lot of people listen to it and what moves them to do something fun with their lives or start a new project.
I could tell you that entrepreneurs like yourself who are generous with their time, it really helps the students at our college. And a lot of them watch this podcast because they really like to hear entrepreneurial stories. And I appreciate your transparency. I think so many times people look at successful entrepreneurs and are like, oh, it was just easy for them or they had all this. So I think shows like this, it's important for entrepreneurs because you get the backstory of, no, it was hard, but I didn't know how to sew. And I learned to sew on YouTube and things like that. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us today.
Thank you so much. That was so much fun.
Thanks. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Innovation Mindset Podcast powered by the Jim Moran College of Entrepreneurship. As I mentioned, if you're interested in that bikinis, you can see all the contact information in the show notes. Also, if you like this podcast, be sure to give us and be sure to hit that subscription button so you never miss another amazing episode. Hey, thank you. See you next time.